with Sean Osborne with Silver Circle. And the topic for today's discussion is what I want to be when I grow up. When I was talking to Sean about his history, it's pretty dynamic, I'll say that. And I've talked to a lot of people over the years, and especially over the last few years, 5 years I'd say. There are a lot of young adults that are struggling with trying to figure out what they want to do, and a lot of introduction of AI and robotics, and there's kind of a lost, like, where do I go? And I think your story will help give some people hope. At the end of the day, there's not very few people have a straight line for what they're going to do. And I think understanding some of your background, and you've been successful in each of the things that you've done that we'll talk about.
I haven't told you about all the losses.
Right, those aren't as much fun to talk about. But I'd like to let people know a little bit about you. Like, how long have you been in Oconomowoc? You got a family, and like, you don't have to say how old you are, but you're
32.
32, okay.
32.
Excellent. How long have you been in Oconomowoc?
Gosh, well, I've never lived in Oconomowoc. I've lived in the town of Oconomowoc, and I currently live in the village of Summit, but I've been in this area for 26 years.
Feels like yesterday?
It does feel like yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we bought a house right down the road from you.
Yeah.
Many years ago.
Yep. For those that don't know, I live on Locust Street, which is just a couple blocks west of the band shell in downtown Oconomowoc, which is stumbling distance from most of the events downtown. So you've lived in the Lake Country in the Oconomowoc area for 26 years, and before that, where'd you grow up?
That's a complicated question. I grew up in Michigan for my early childhood. We moved to Ohio for my dad's job. My parents got divorced. My mom and my sister and I moved back to Waukesha, where I lived and grew up from about 8 years on, and then I went to service. What
branch of service?
Navy.
So in the Navy, you didn't fly planes. That was too easy.
No, we did fly planes, but our job was to pick up planes off the bottom of the ocean.
So you were a deep sea. That's like one of my deepest fears.
Yeah.
So number one, as probably everybody who talks to you says, thank you for your service.
Yeah,
genuinely.
thank you.
Number two, why that?
Again, that's a complicated question. So when I was a young man, I had no direction, just from a broke home, grew up on welfare, I lived in government housing, so I was just sort of on my own. I was awful at school, I wasn't a very good student, and I wasn't getting in trouble, I didn't shy away from trouble. One day in Waukesha South, I took a gym class, required to take a gym class that had scuba diving.
Right on.
And I knew within 30 seconds of going underwater, I wanted to be a Navy diver.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I went down and signed up, and you can't sign up to be a Navy diver. You have to go to service first, and then, I don't know if you get recommended or you apply, I don't know how that happens. But they had a special program where if you committed to 6 years, you had to go through A school, that's where I learned to be a ship fitter and welder. And you graduate that, you pass the physical, and then you have an automatic entry into dive school. And at the time, dive school had an attrition rate of about 80%. So man, it was tough. It's tough. I didn't have a great education, so trying to study physics and chemistry and everything else was challenging for me. But I got through it, and they sent me to USS Oconomowoc, which is a submarine rescue vessel.
Wow.
Except for you can't rescue submarines because this our ship with a dive bell can only go down to 850 feet. Most of the ocean is deeper than 850 feet, so that ship's been retired. It's sunk as a reef now.
That would be a good one for like Civil War era, I would imagine, but not in today's world.
No, they have other things now. They have small subs you can take down, and that's so long ago. I'm outdated on my knowledge of deep sea diving is in the military.
But I want to spend a little bit of time on that because it's a unique aspect of of what the Navy does.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know, a lot of times people get caught up in the minutia of like what they want to do as opposed to, let's start with big picture. And a lot of times it's, you get to know what you don't want to do first, and that leads you to what you want to do. How did you do active? I don't know what the term would be. Like, would you go save something that was in distress, or what did you spend most of your time doing while you were underwater?
That's top secret.
Right on.
I mean, as much as I'd love to tell you a great story, we didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Key West and dive, or, you know, we did a lot of ops with SEAL teams because we had hyperbaric chambers on there, so we do some ops with EOD, and the teams, we carried the teams around a lot so that if they got bent, we could put them in hyperbaric chambers. But a submarine rescue vessel doesn't do a whole lot other than train.
Be ready for when you're needed.
Yes.
Because it's no joke if you're needed. Right, yeah. I gotta imagine there, in that amount of downtime, there's a lot of opportunity to play around.
So that's a great question. It's the same question that people ask me about being a race director. Oh, you only work on Saturday? No, we work every single day of the year ever. So what the ship that I was on was 250 feet 4 inches. You have to be 250 feet to be a U.S. naval vessel. So it's tiny. And we had 100 sailors on it, and you worked 24/7. You were always working. You either were working or you were standing watch in 4-hour shifts. And my duty station was sound security. We just went to check stuff and make sure, I don't know, we weren't being attacked by Russia. And there were 3 of us that did that. So you stood watch for 4 hours, off for 8, or most of the time you worked, back on for 4, off for 8, every single day of the year. And then you started to work. So we didn't die much. We worked our arses off. It's unbelievable how much work, because we were responsible for all the maintenance and the welding and CHC tanks and firefighting. I mean, it's crazy the amount of stuff that they sort of take a 19-year-old kid and go, here, you're in charge of firefighting. Huh?
Sure.
You know?
And again, firefighting on a ship is no joke. Right? That's an...
Just the drills are intense. You know, they'll shut the lights off, they'll blow smoke. Again, this is for everyone. They'll fix smoke in there, and then you're going down with what's called an OBA firefighting thing downstairs. You know, down these stairs, holding hoses, and the stairs are super steep on a ship. It's crazy. But the thing about the military that people don't necessarily understand is you can do whatever you want. Right? There's so many opportunities. I went in the Navy to be a deep sea diver. I hated it. I hated my first. Gosh, when I got to a ship, I hated every single minute of it. And I turned down the GI Bill in boot camp. They said, "We've got a great deal. You give us $100 a month for 12 months, and we'll give you 10 grand." Or I said, it wasn't much. I go, man, I understand the Navy forever. Got to my first ship, I go, gosh, this sucks. Because I was going to stay and I was going to be a lifer, right?
Sure.
What else was I going to do?
Right.
Certainly want to go to college. And man, this is awful. And I remember we were off the coast of Florida, and I was watching a Packer game. That's how close we were to the shore. And they announced that you could get the GI Bill again. And all you had to do was point up that $1,200.
I'm in.
I was in my flame. I mean, I was so, yeah. Yeah, so, you know, it's fun. Life is fun. And I tell people this all the time. You know, those bad memories go away, right? And you only remember the awesome stuff that we did. But man, it wasn't awesome. And, but the opportunity, right? So I went from running the welding, as a hull technician, so ship fitter is what they call it. So I ran the ship fitting station at 19. Every person that worked for me was older than me. So they put this kid from boot camp, send him to welding school, put him in dive school and say, here, you're now an E4, you're the senior person in this department, you're in charge. With no management skills whatsoever.
Well, they've developed over the years. I'm sure. Yeah. So What would you say was your biggest takeaway from that experience in the Navy? Was it life changing in regards to, you mentioned the not so fun times, right? The not so fun times, you may not remember it, but that's where those friendships or relationships really kind of create that stronger bond. Because, you know, for anybody, like you can drink with somebody and have a good time and remember each other years later and be like, yeah, that was great. But when you're in the depth of some hard stuff and you got somebody with you, that's a different type of relationship. I gotta imagine you formed a few of those.
Yeah, not because of dangerous situations or things, but just, you know, you're with guys for, I mean, I think it took us 17 days to get over to the Mediterranean, and we could only hold food for 14. So we had to stop at, I want to say, the Azores and get food, and it ran like a Zodiac in because it was just crazy. The ship was built in 1804. So I would say that, you know, the thing is, they teach leadership, right? You learn to be a leader. You have to be a leader. And the military is, it's easy to succeed because they say, if you do this, then this happens. Sure. And you have to want to do that. And I was put in situations where I was lucky. I mean, the first ship I went to, this guy named Greg Benton worked my rear end off like crazy. I hated the guy. But one of the biggest influences in my life, man, he worked me so incredibly hard. And then I saw him doing more than what needed to be done. Right? He was standing, watched down in engine rooms with these giant rooms and huge engines, and he was down there. He wasn't an engineman or machinist mate or whatever they call it. It's like me. He was just a hull technician. He wasn't even a diver. I don't mean it that way, but
no, yeah.
So I said, oh man, I can do that. And then I started doing that, and next thing you know, you start getting motivated. And then I said, I want to go teach. What do I know about teach? I don't know anything about teaching.
Yeah.
So I got transferred back to dive school, and they wouldn't let me teach. I was working maintenance or something like that, and I finally got an opportunity to teach. Became a teacher.
How long did that last?
I taught for 2.5 years until they closed the school. Again, the military sent me to teaching school for an entire month, 8 hours a day, and they taught you how to teach, like erase boards like this. And I'm like, you know, all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm like, no. So then I taught for 2.5 years, and that was awesome. It's creative, right? You can create your own lessons plans and those things, and that's a lot of fun. But then they closed it.
What was the subject you taught?
Deep sea diving.
Deep sea diving.
Everything. Yeah.
So
physics, me teaching again. High school education.
Yeah.
I graduated in the top 10 or lower half of my class. That's awesome.
Right?
Yeah. So.
Well, you know what the difference between a doctor that has an A and a doctor that has a C is, right?
No.
Either do they.
Yeah. So when I was at dive school, that's where I learned to be competitive. Super competitive. Because there's this, his name's, we call him Big Bad Bob Johnson, from Illinois, and he was going to college, and I was stationed in Cornell, California. College at the time for I wasn't a resident, but college was $5 a credit. It was $15 a class, and the Navy paid for most of it. So I was going to school essentially for free, and he was getting A's. I thought, how can this guy get A's? Again, top 10% of lower half. I thought, what do I know? So I started taking classes. I just worked and studied every waking minute I could. And then when it was time for me to get out, I applied to the #1 college in America, not Harvard, UW Whitewater. They had the #1 program at the time for management computer systems, and I got in.
That's awesome. Sometimes just being around people that do what they're uncomfortable with, right? You don't have to be an expert in whatever it is to do it. You have to start somewhere,
right? And
you have to put yourself in a position to figure it out. And
you have to be willing to take the risk.
Yeah. And again, that's kind of a struggle because everything is available to you like right now. And they want everything instantly. Well, the best way to learn is to do it.
Right.
And the best way to do it is to put yourself in those positions. So what would you tell somebody who is thinking about going into the military now with that kind of experience? Was it a good step? Was it a good foundation for the next things in your life?
I wouldn't be here if I didn't go to the military. I mean, what would I?
Yeah.
I would have gone to college. I had no skills. I had no technical skills. I mean, I took every single shop class in high school, cooking class.
Sure.
So I guess I could have, but I didn't have any skills.
Yeah.
And it's just there's so much opportunity to do all kinds of. But you don't have to carry a gun, right? You don't have to kill people. There's all kinds of things you can do, and there's so many opportunities and so much opportunity to succeed and fail and take risks and take challenges and learn all kinds of different skills. And the other thing that, and this is going to sound a little odd, I grew up in Waukesha, right? I didn't see people from the South. I didn't know what someone from this, I didn't know what Southern slang was. I didn't go to Milwaukee. I didn't meet any of these people. And all of a sudden you're thrown in a room with all these different folk
Right.
that are way different than you, naked in the shower. Like, wow, this is really odd. I don't think we even did this in high school.
Yeah. Well, I lived in South Carolina for several years, 6 years. That's where my wife got her higher education. And one of the things that you learn down south is how to slow it down a little bit.
Yeah.
And that was kind of cool because up here you're like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
You know, I got something to do. And down there they're like, hold on, I can't understand you to begin with. You're giving me a headache, and there's that southern drawl,
Right.
and everybody waved down there. For me, that's where I picked it up. I wave at everybody. Everybody's like, you know everybody. I'm like, no, I wave at everybody because that's what I grew up with. That's how you recognize everybody.
It's kind of like when I started doing work with people in New York. Man, they're aggressive. It's just a really aggressive speech pattern, and they're not being aggressive. And it took me a long time to figure out, why is this guy yelling at me? He's not yelling at me. We're negotiating a lease. And that's just a speech pattern.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, there's a lot of young adults who don't recognize that. They take everything really personal, and it's not personal to them. It's just personal to the person who's speaking because that's how they do it. So our first episode was the art of conversation. It's just getting back to some of those basics now, and adapting to those that you're around, so you can connect and then learn from. Either figure out, that's something I'd like to do, or that's something I don't want to do. That's somebody I want to hang out with, or that's somebody I don't want to hang out with. So you got, sounds like a great foundation from a situation that wasn't necessarily a place of, well, he's going to do this and he's going to do that. It was like, I'm going to try this. And then you learned all these skills. And then you went to where after that?
I became an intern. I was going to college in Milwaukee, night school, money and banking.
Okay.
And during a break, there's this post that says, busy broker needs assistance. Let me step back to college for a second.
Yeah.
So I went to college for management computer systems. Great program, very, very difficult. And as I was going through it, I was writing code, and I remember sitting in the computer lab, and these guys were talking about stuff I had no interest in. Like, I can't spend the rest of my life working with people like this 20 hours a day writing code that I have nothing in common. I'm not passionate about writing code. So it wasn't my deal. I was passionate about real estate. And I had already bought a duplex, and then we bought another duplex, and so I went and got a finance degree with an emphasis in multiple degrees. I knew that's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do. So I had a chance of going and becoming a broker's assistant, and the guy named Dan hired me. He's great, taught me a ton. They fired me. 6 months later, they don't call it a firing. They call it, we're going to make you a broker.
Sink or swim.
Okay, Bruce, great. What does it pay? It pays nothing. We'll give you a $500 a month draw that you got to pay back in future commissions.
Yeah.
Man, my wife was stoked. Graduated with straight A's, 2 degrees, right at the dot-com boom, and I told her I was going to go make no money, borrow money to work in real estate.
So that's a great way to strengthen bonds of marriage, relationships. Call it faith.
So there's a story behind it. Eventually I became sales manager. So my wife would tell this story. We were at a Christmas party the very first year, and it was at the Red Circle Inn, I think. Yeah. And I was sitting with this old dude, Tony Beretta, like old as dirt dude. He's probably 60 at the time, and I'm 26. And my wife was complaining, right? That she's complaining, rightfully so. She helped support me through college. And Tony says to her, just be patient. Just be patient. It'll all work out, and you'll make plenty of money. So when I became sales manager, my wife would have to give that talk to other spouses. And we called it the Tony Talk. And it probably changed my life. Because my wife was having none of this. None. Not only was I working every waking moment I could, I sold suits at nights and weekends. So I was never home. I worked from 6 to 10 every single day. Fortunately, we did have kids. So with Tony Talk, that was another person who changed my life. And Tony passed away 2 or 3 years ago and worked until the day he died.
Huh. Without those special people that come into your life to give you that nugget, you can find yourself on one path or another in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
That is also something that you can't force. Like, he probably saw something, which is why he was encouraging your wife and probably you in various ways to get to where he knew you could go.
I think he's a good person.
Hang around with good people, right? Yeah. Like, if you take a look at the 3 or 4 people that you hang around with, that's your future.
Yeah.
So fortunate for you, you had some good people that kind of helped you get into the real estate and figure it out. And then you were a broker for quite a while. Right? So you mentioned New York, but I know you from your broker days here.
Oh, because I did commercial real estate across the country.
Okay.
So a lot of REITs are based in New York, or the attorneys are based in New York, or represent. So, and there could be a shopping center here where I negotiate on behalf of a tenant, and the owners in New York or Australia and all over the place.
How long did you do the brokerage?
$25 years, maybe.
You are
and then part time for 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
So I'm in the commercial interior space, right? So I would call on people like you who would do a deal, and that tenant would need furniture, design service, build, whatever that was. And the one thing I know about that business, and this is probably like a lot of businesses, right? Once it gets in your blood and you figure it out, there's always something going on. Even when there's not, there's renewals, there's stuff.
Not always. 1 year I made no money.
Right.
$0. I remember standing in my kitchen, a piece of paper, writing down assets that we have, trying to figure out what's going to happen. And I was very fortunate. At the time I worked for a company called Inman Companies, Mike Fardy. Mike Fardy was the CFO, and the company lent me money for a year. Paid it back, of course. Yeah. But without that, it wouldn't have happened.
Sure.
So, again, it's good people like that make a difference in your life.
Well, for those who are listening or watching, it's not a straight line, and it's not always easy. It's not like, okay, I'm going to go from here to here, I'm going to get this promotion, and there's going to be this big golden parachute and everything is. You go up and down and all around in turns. I got into the software industry when we lived in South Carolina. It was in '96, and we developed computer-based training products for the general public. And actually, our first title was for scuba diving, and it was with a certification organization called NAUI, which was the second largest in the world. And it was pretty cutting edge to do CBT products for the general public at the time. So I was dealing with Egghead, PC World, Best Buy, all of those. And I work for free for half the year, from June until December. I work for free. We had our first kid on December 28th of '96. They were trying to get venture capital to get things, and they didn't get it, so they went bankrupt on January 1st of '97. You figure it out.
Yeah.
You figure out, but I learned a ton. I mean, I didn't graduate from college. It wasn't my thing. I hands-on.
Right.
So you spent 25 years in commercial real estate as a broker. You saw ups and downs in that, for sure. You built a great reputation for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, do what you say you're going to do. Treat people with respect, the way you would want to be treated, and that's not common in that industry at all. In my doings, you know, this is mine, this is yours, and if I can get some of yours, I'm going to make that mine too. So, how do you navigate through 25 years of, I would say, more corporate world interactions, discovering a passion for events?
I was on the park commission in the village of Summit, and we had just finished, I don't know if we just retired the debt from the park or just finished the park. I sort of came in on the tail end of this park thing, and I don't know who said it. They said, well, we should do a festival. Okay, I don't know anything about festivals. And they said, Sean, you should do a run. Okay. And I said, I'll do it under one circumstance. I'm in charge, and I'm not coming back to groups of people that ask what color t-shirt. Just like, so it's great. It's fine. Whatever. I know there's nowhere to go to learn how to do this. There's just nowhere. They don't send you to school. And we just figured it out. And between the time that happened and the time of the first Summit Fest, I went out and I did a mud run in Madison with my friend Ryan Griesmeyer from Race Day Events, still a good friend. And he wouldn't let my kid do it. I was pissed. And I was really angry because my kid started running, you know, and he had legitimate reasons, right? He's
Liability.
very liability.
Yeah.
So I said, I can do this because I got a big enough ego that I can, at that time, that I can do this. So I did it, and we had maybe 75 kids and maybe 50 runners, and it was great. I lost all kinds of money. Lost my shirt. But my oldest son's friend was also doing it. His dad was there, and he was the CEO of BuyCostumes.com. Again, right place, right time. He's standing next to me, and I said, I don't want to say how much money, but I said, if you give me X, we could do the BuyCostumes.com mud run. And he said, okay. And we did it at 1,200 people. I lost my shirt.
Yeah.
And I was in the mud run business. And we went to Racine, and I lost my shirt, and we went back to Summit, and 2 more, and I lost my shirt. I mean, how you lose money on 12 kegs of beer, 1,200 people is beyond me. But I did it.
Well, there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like you said, there's not a school for that, right?
No.
You got to figure that out. Every time you do something, you learn. You're like, okay, I'm not doing that again.
Yes.
I'm going to do that a little bit harder. I'm going to, blow. And the BuyCostumes.com guy I know really well, and again, good guy. Without a doubt. What I found in my life is good people find good people.
Yeah.
And it's not by accident. Sometimes it just happens, but very few things in life just happen.
I don't remember what president I heard it from, but he said, the harder I work, the luckier I get. I absolutely believe that. The harder you work, the luckier you get. And the more people you talk to, the luckier you get. You just don't ever, it's funny. Every Friday we have to go to the grocery store and buy food, fresh produce for these events. And the project manager that works with us, he's quiet. He's just a quiet dude. And I'm not. And I see how many people I can talk to in the grocery store. And sometimes it's an awesome conversation. Most times it's not, but sometimes it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, just crazy.
You can't strike gold every time.
No.
But you gotta keep hammering.
Yeah.
And you have a great sense of humor.
Yes.
That's what you told me. But
Very talented.
you do. You have an awesome sense of humor, and just like you said, not every conversation is gold, but you are an engaging person. So to put yourself in as many spots as you can, something's going to stick. And now, how long have you been doing the events?
15 years. No, it's 30.
Yeah.
So I give you our story. So we're about to cut a deal with a new sponsor, and this sponsor got to me because the employees were doing something, right, and they wanted to create a rep. And the guy called me, and I said, "Yeah, we can do that for you. That's fine, but it's a lot of work. Just so you know, it's a lot of work." And I said, "Why don't we do this? For what it would cost you for me to do an event, why don't you just become a sponsor? You get these built-in races; they're already here for you. You don't have to do anything. Put your logo up, you're done. We're going to cut that deal next week." Because I asked this guy that question, and didn't just say, "Oh, I got to do this."
Well, so right place, right time, right conversations, and providing value.
Yep.
Right? So and everybody provides value differently. From the time that you started in the top 10% of the bottom half of your class,
Yeah.
right?
Smart class.
Right? To now, you provide value differently. And your focus is on experience.
Creating memorable experiences, right?
Yeah.
It costs nothing to go out and run down the sidewalk. Unless I close it down, then you got to pay me. There has to be value in that for someone to want to pay a guy like me to run on a trail that's free to run on. There's got to be an experience associated with that people are going to remember forever, including kids, right? That kid that comes to one of our events that's 9 or 10 years old and has this awesome experience, and it's loud, and you can run around and scream and yell, and he gets a finish medal that he's going to wear to school, and that kid is always going to remember that. And that kid is going to tell his mom that, so that she brings him there next year. And it's the experience of that family value of coming out and enjoying something at a fair price.
And, you know, one of the first times that we did something together was for an experience that cost nothing,
right,
but meant everything.
Yeah.
And that was Easter service in 2020, where I had gotten the parking lot of the high school, and I was during
I still have that Easter Sunday sign in my warehouse. I looked at it and said, "Why do I still have that sign?"
because it meant everything.
Yeah.
The tears of people driving in, and
You gotta stay in your car. And everybody got out and sat on their car, right? And listen to, I can't remember, St. Jerome's and another church. Yeah.
we made the platform available to every church that I could get a hold of, and two of them took advantage of it. We the challenges of how do we make sure everybody can hear. We looked at FM modulators and all that. And Father Tom, who was giving communion,
Right.
we were like, you have to do it, and he did it the way he needed to do it. And at the end of the day, the reason I share that story is because I think I contacted you to see if I could get some barricades and stuff, and you're like, let's just do this.
Right.
And without your help, it wouldn't have gone as smooth. So, thank you. Yeah. And you never know when you can come into an opportunity to make a difference in lives that you'll never meet. And that is immeasurable. Yeah. And humbling at the same time. And what you're doing right now with the event management to what you were trying to figure out when you were in high school, when we were talking, is just like all over the board. Some people grow up in a house where they're like, you're going to do this, and you're going to go to this school, and then you're going to do this internship, and then you're going to work outside of the company, the family company zone, and then you're going to come back in, and there's a plan, which is awesome. It's great. But everybody's got their own journey. And it's not supposed to be easy. You don't come up and go, of the womb, and you're like, okay, you're gonna have the greatest, easiest life ever. It's like you have a life. Do with it what you can, and you've done some amazing things with that. So I appreciate it. And along the way, you created a family.
Mm-hmm.
How many kids do you have?
Again, another complicated question.
Yeah.
I have 2 kids with my first wife, which is my current wife. We adopted my sister when she was 12, 13, 14. And we adopted a 14-year-old 9 years ago.
So, yeah, nothing in your life is necessarily like straightforward.
Crazy? And I didn't start thinking about this until recently. I just assumed everybody lived like this. Like, you know, when I was in brokerage, you generally dealt with wealthy people that had access to things, and you just assumed, right?
Sure.
But that's not. And when I sort of think back on what transpired, and just how crazy this stuff is that I've had the opportunity to do, and people to meet, and life experiences, and hopefully impacts on other people. And you know, we did that church thing not because I'm associated with any of those religions. I did it because someone asked me, and it was the right thing to do. And what else was I doing?
Right. I think we're kind of coming up to the end.
Okay.
What I'd love for you to kind of leave us with is 2 things. You said that you have come across a few people in your life that have made a big difference. Is there something that somebody has done for you, provided to you wisdom-wise, that kind of stands out above all the rest? And so that's one question. The other question is, what would you tell somebody who is struggling with what I want to be when I grow up? What is your suggestion for figuring it out?
So the first question is, I've had lots of people that have influenced my life. I haven't been fortunate enough for someone to do something that has changed my life. The one person who's a close exception is a very dear friend who's on past named Claire Coxey. Claire grew up in Bessemer, Michigan, relatively poor, and just made his way through life and became wealthy at the end of his life. And I was the president of the lodging association. He was the manager, right? And he would always tell me, Sean, you can't run any business. And that sticks in my head. So Claire had a big influence on me because he came from corporate America, where I was, right? And I had a really big ego. And I wasn't a nice person. I just wasn't nice because I had come from the military. And Claire changed that, sort of knocked me down a little bit and said, Sean, this is how you treat this group. This is how we're going to get it done from A to B. And he was into strategic planning. That worked for me. I got that. So he changed my life in the sense that I mellowed out and became a kinder human, in my opinion. What was the second question?
What would you give for advice for somebody who is looking to figure out what they want to do when they grow up?
Well, I'm going to give you 2 answers. I'm going to give you 2 answers. The first answer is find out what you love, figure out how to monetize it, and you'll never work a day in your life. Right? I work every day. I don't consider it work because I love what I do now. The other is not everyone can do that. Some people have families, some people need to pay rent, There's other areas outside of what I think. And sometimes you just need to get a job. And I don't care what that job is. I once said to somebody, they're asking what they should do. And I said, they didn't know what to do. No idea what to do, sort of midlife, and they need the money. I said, go work at Walmart. Just go work there, right? And if you're that much better than the next guy, you're going to be an assistant manager. Then you're going to and just go and get some life skills. My oldest son, both my sons ironically, worked at Subway in college. Didn't pay nothing. And I go, just go. Just learn what that process is. There's process of wisdom in that process. So go get a job, right? And just figure it out and work your butt off.
Well, man, I really appreciate the time and just getting to know your story a little bit. I know you interact with a ton of people in the community because of what you do, and you bring a lot of people into the community that wouldn't otherwise know what this community is about.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of what you do in your events is you build a community.
It's amazing. I mean, so let me say one thing about Waukesha County. Every municipality in Waukesha County. No one has ever said no to me, right? They said, well, we don't do things that way, but let's come in and talk about it. I mean, we held a 24-hour run in a county park. Who does that? And they didn't say no. They said, well, here's some things we have to consider. And I've had one municipality in 15 years say no in Waukesha County. It's just an awesome place to do business. And about Oconomowoc. So we do this survey at the end of one of our large events, brings about 3,000 people, and we ask them, if you could tell the residents about your experience in their community, what would it be? It's unbelievable what people say about Oconomowoc. I mean, it's crazy. It's an awesome place to live. It's an awesome place to do business.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. Right, from Oconomowoc to you. Part of that is the sense of what Oconomowoc is about,
right,
to me, and for me, and I think what I'm hearing from you too is you can be the low man on the totem pole, you can be the high man on the totem pole. It doesn't matter if you're in this community.
Right.
You figure out how to kind of work together. That was what was really special to me coming in here, because I wasn't looking to come to Oconomowoc back in '98. It was a blessing to come here, and for not being here, my life would have been completely different because of the people that I have gotten a chance to know and call friend here. So, and you're one of them. You know, I probably would have known you at some point because of what we were doing, but it is a very special place, and it's because of people, and just like you're one of those people. So thank you for that. Next time we do our next podcast, it'll be episode 3, and Coco Steele is going to share her story, and that'll be a lot of fun. And if you're in the Oconomowoc area, if you like to run, this is not something paid, nothing, he doesn't even know. Go check out Silver Circle Sports and check out what they're doing. They do a variety of things, and they give back through their foundation. He gives back to first responders, the military, from which much is given, much is expected, right? So, and not told, but given, truly from the heart. So that's awesome too. That's going to be another podcast at some other time. Until then, thank you very much and enjoy. That's it.
Thank you.